Let's bring in Tony Dungy from Football Night in America. Tony, let's get the Des Bryant stuff out of the way. What did you see, whether that was a catch or not?
I listened to Dean Blandino, absolutely the way he described it. As soon as I saw it, I was sitting with my son Eric. We both said that's not a catch. And Dean's right. It's been that way for years. In the 2005 playoff game, we lost to Pittsburgh. Troy Polamalu intercepted a pass, ran about 3 or 4 steps as he was falling down. The ball came loose. I challenged it. I know it's a catch, but the way the rule is, we got the ball back, and that kept us in the game. Calvin Johnson, we've all seen it. They've always called it like this. Even though 99% of the people in the world see that as a catch, that's just the way the rule is. They've got to do something about that. But the way the rule is written, it was officiated correctly, and it's been that way for 10 years.
The rule is wrong?
Well, the rule is not wrong. It's just that everybody thinks it, like you said, it's a catch. You look at it, it's a catch, but by the rule, it's not a catch because he's off balance. He's going to the ground. He's not catching and running it, and that's the difference. And the officials wanted something black and white. This all came into play when a guy was diving to make a catch and laying out. Now the ball comes out, and did he have it long enough, whatever. So they said anytime you hit the ground in the process of making a catch, if you don't hold on to it all the way, they didn't want to get into a gray area of what's too long. Well, now they took that one step further. Instead of diving, you caught the ball, but you're off balance, and you hit the ground 2 or 3 steps later. They just made it all a blanket rule, and it's bad because a play like that really was a catch, you don't get rewarded for it.
So you do think it was a catch, but then lost the ball going through the process?
Oh, yeah, he lost the ball in the process of the catch the way it's described in the rule book. It's 1,000 times out of 1,000 they'll call that incomplete.
But what if he catches the ball? What if he goes out of bounds instead of?
It's still incomplete. It's still incomplete. If you're falling, if you hit the ground. If you don't hit the ground, you don't fall, or contact wasn't made by a defender, when you are catching the ball and you go to the ground, we always went over this with our receivers. Don't try to stretch. Don't do anything. Make sure you secure the ball, because if you hit the ground and the ball comes out, no matter what happened, it's going to be incomplete.
I also, lost in all of this was the actual call that, 4th and 1, and you throw that. I was just surprised at the play. Now, look, if it worked for a touchdown, I still would have been surprised. I thought they had time to you had 40 seconds to go. That's what surprised me, that you were throwing it, you were putting it all on the line right there, as opposed to maybe giving yourself 4 more shots.
Right. And you can't quibble with it because they got the one-on-one. I know what Romo saw. He saw the line stack, and there's Dez out there. I got a chance one-on-one. We're going to win the game right here. But I was curious, too. I'm wondering, hey, pound DeMarco Murray in there. And if nothing else, score when you don't give Rodgers a chance to come back down and kick a field goal to win it.
He's Tony Dungy from Football Night in America, joining us, Dan Patrick Show. Peyton Manning, something's been up the last couple.
Before we go to Peyton,
okay,
let's go back to Baltimore, okay? Because I heard Dean's explanation. He is right. New England pushed the envelope, but they did it under the rules. Those rules will be changed. It's just like guys now have to come inside the numbers. They can't just go line up. So they'll change that. But one thing the referees did miss, Shane Vereen did stay in an eligible position. Should have been a penalty after the last time they did it. John Harbaugh was complaining. I think the officials got caught up in the penalty to Harbaugh, but Shane Vereen did stay in the game, went from ineligible to eligible, and you can't do that.
Did John Harbaugh have a reason to be upset? Was there anything shady about what Belichick tried to pulled off?
It was brilliant. They took again, we're talking about this same thing, the letter of the law. Instead, normally what happens, you come in, you enter the game, you tell the referee before you get in the huddle, you report. He gives the guys, they have plenty of time on defense to see it and sort it out. They were reporting going right to the line of scrimmage. One time, Vereen reported on his way to the line of scrimmage. So then it's how much time, and Vinovich is sitting there, and he's trying to point it out. But you're on defense, and all of a sudden they tell you, hey, there's 6 guys with eligible numbers, but don't worry about that. This guy, no, they're going to snap the ball. It was brilliant on the Patriots' part. It'll be that rule will be doctored up a little bit, so you're not able to do that next year.
If Peyton Manning called you today and said, Coach, be honest with me, What would you tell him?
I would tell him, come back if you're physically healthy. Then this was no different than last year. Seattle played this style. They said, we don't think they can complete deep balls. We're going to squeeze down on everything, especially third down. We're going to make them throw deep. And, they weren't able to do it in the Super Bowl. And the same thing happened here. So you can't say, well, all of a sudden we saw this coming. He still had a brilliant year. There's still a lot of things he can do. That's the way more people are going to play. But I think he can still be effective if he's healthy.
It just didn't seem like he was healthy. That's all.
Well, that I don't know. That's the thing you don't know, and how those hits were and how things happened during the course of the year. He definitely played differently in the last quarter of the season than the first three quarters. The deep balls, they were off target, and so the second half became just screens and quick throws, and the Colts realized that. They squeezed down on those receivers and made it difficult, and they just couldn't get anything going in the second half. So whether it was just that's the way life is now or whether it was the accumulation of some injuries, we won't know, and he's certainly not going to say. But I don't think that game yesterday was that much different than the Super Bowl game, and he came back and was able to have a strong year. So we'll see what happens.
Would you be surprised if he retired?
I would not be surprised after that. I know how competitive he is, and he's not going to want to go out with a loss, but we'll see what happens.
Wait, so you wouldn't be surprised if he retired?
I wouldn't be surprised, but my guess is that he's going to come back. I don't think he wants to finish with a game like that. I would think, and what Peyton always does, he goes off, he's going to go hunting with Eli. They're going to be in a place where there's no cell phone reception. He's going to take about 10 days and get away from everything, and then he'll make his decision. So we aren't going to know right away, and the Broncos aren't going to know.
What about John Fox? Do you think his job is secure?
I hear people say that, and you go to the playoffs and win 11, 12, 13 games every year. You're playing good teams in the playoffs, and I think he's done an excellent job. I think they would be making a mistake to make a change in the coaching staff, but, it happens all the time. People get impatient, and they feel like we should have won this game. We should have won 2 Super Bowls, and we've only gotten to 1 or whatever. I think they'd be making a big mistake. I think John Fox has done a great job.
Hey, buddy. Good to see you this weekend. I'll see you soon.
All right. Looking forward to it.
Thanks, Tony. Tony Dungy, Football Night in America.